This is the damage of a striker build with the St. ELMO'S engine assault rifle. And now this is the damage with the same build, but with a different weapon. Want to know how this is happening? Well, then watch the video. Alright, so you're a new player and you need a build, and you're asking people around and everybody's just recommending you Striker and St. ELMO'S, because whenever you inspect somebody, you always see they're using a Striker St. ELMO'S, Striker St. ELMO'S, Striker St. ELMO'S. It's everywhere. And, you know, you think that this is the highest damage build in the game, which you're not wrong. It's actually very high damage, but the question is it actually the higher damage though? I mean, you know, the higher damage and best builds are subjective, so we're not going to go in an argument for that. And also, as a new player, you should be focusing on your survivability first instead of doing crazy damage, because no matter how much damage you have, dead DPS is no DPS, but that's an argument for another video. So what do? Well, you go and try to farm yourself the St. ELMO'S, and you go to Countdown, which I would recommend to go because, you know, that's one of the best places to actually get exotics, especially your St. ELMO'S. So you go there and you try to farm for a few minutes or hours even, you're getting unlucky, and finally you get an exotic drop, and that's, guess what? Not the St. ELMO'S, but rather is the Chameleon. And now you're sad. Well, don't be, because you know what? We can actually use the Chameleon, and I'll show you that how can you do crazy damage with the Chameleon, and let's see if we can beat the St. ELMO'S DPS with it, shall we? Alright guys, we're here at the shooting range, so without any fuzz or BS, let me just show you the comparison between the weapons. And I'm also going to talk about where you can actually use the weapon to get the perfect benefit out of it, and how you actually get the higher damage, obviously. So first of all, I'm using a typical striker build here with the St. ELMO'S. You can see here, we got the Coyote, we got the Grupo chest piece with Obliterate talent, we have the backpack of striker, obviously 4-piece striker, and that's pretty much what everybody uses. Now, I will also going to show you the damage differences with the chest piece as well of the striker, so don't worry about that. So obviously, first starting with the, you know, the St. ELMO'S here, I actually have plus 7% of extra weapon like expertise on the St. ELMO'S, so remember that. Also damage to target out of cover here. And so that's basically my St. ELMO'S. As for the mask, obviously, it's a Coyote with the crit damage there as a mod. We got the backpack, which is, you know, crit damage and crit damage. Gloves, also weapon damage, crit damage here. Knee pads, we got weapon damage, crit damage. Holster, again, weapon damage, crit damage. Now, the chest piece, obviously, it's Grupo, like I said. We got crit chance, crit damage, and crit chance mod with Obliterate talent on it. So that's that. And if I show you my stats, we have 48% crit chance, 175% crit damage. 48% crit chance really good because we're using Coyote. You don't want to go like 60% crit chance with Coyote on it, you know. All right, let's test. So I'm going to use the left to do build up the stacks. It should be really quickly because we're not using the chest piece of striker, so getting the stacks is actually faster. So yeah, we have that. Now let's try with the St. ELMO'S, see how much damage we do. So we're doing 1 million when there is a health bar on it, and when there's armor, we're doing 865,000. Obviously, the health damage will be higher because the assault rifle comes with a lot of health damage on it. So we're doing 1,046,000 on health and 865,000 when there is armor. So that's the St. ELMO'S on the striker build like this with the Obliterate chest piece and with the Grupo. Yeah, so that's that. Now let's just swap the weapon straight up to the Chameleon, right? Now with the Chameleon, I have plus 3 weapon damage here. We don't have damage to target out of cover privilege because, you know, this one only comes with crit chance. And so that's that. Obviously, the base damage, like the total damage of the Chameleon is lower than the St. ELMO'S here, so we should be doing less damage on it, right? We'll see. Now, if I show you my stats on it, we have a little bit more crit chance because the weapon comes with a crit chance on it, and we have less crit damage, obviously. So yeah, that's that. Let's try it. Again, I'm going to build up the stacks real quickly. All right, we got that. Let's swap back to the Chameleon. Let's see how much damage we do on the body. So right now, without any buff or anything, on the armor, we're doing 652,000. And on the health, we're doing 789, like 790k basically. Now we have the bonus damage active, which is the 90% damage active on the Chameleon, right? So now we're actually doing 1,094,000 when there is a health bar. And when there's armor, we're doing 904,000. That's a lot of damage, way higher than the St. ELMO'S. We didn't even activate the crit damage from the headshots. Now we're going to do that. And now let's hit it on the armor. We're doing 1,066,000 when there's armor, and 1.290, 1.290,000 when there is, you know, yeah. Now we're losing the buff. I'm going to go out of combat, and you'll see I'm going to refresh the buff. There we go. See that? We have the buff again. So you saw it's really high damage, obviously. And not to mention, we're doing this damage on a higher RPM. right? We're doing the damage on a higher RPM. Now, are you going to keep this damage buff all the time with you? Yes and no. If you're playing heroic content, you can. Because your damage is so high, you're shredding through everyone, you're going to be clearing the room really quickly, and you're going to be out of combat. And that's your goal when you're using the Chameleon. You want to get out of combat as soon as possible, because you have only 45 seconds of the buff time. Like, you're only going to keep the buff for 45 seconds. But if you go out of combat, like I just showed you, you're going to refresh the buff. And that's your goal. You want to do that. And that can be achieved easily on a heroic content. On legendary content, it's going to be harder because, you know, you can't clear a room in 45 seconds, I guess. I mean, if you can, just show me the build, because I'm excited to see something like that. Anyway, so yeah, that's pretty much the Chameleon. Now, how do we get this so much damage? Well, you do body shots, 75 rounds, and you get 90% weapon damage. You do headshot, which is 30 rounds, and you get 20% crit chance and 50% crit damage. Technically, the Chameleon comes with a 15% crit chance mod on it, and the weapon itself gives you 9.5% of crit chance. And then you activate this one, you have 20% crit chance. So you see you have a lot of crit chance with the Chameleon there. And obviously the 50% crit damage. So when you do activate the Adaptive Instinct talent, it just smokes St. Elmo's. Like, you can't even see it. St. Elmo's can't even catch it. Like, it's so high damage there. But then again, you can't keep this buff active all the time. But you can build it up really quickly if you use it the way I will tell you to use it. So you're going to do body shots first, which a lot of people will do body shots first, right? So you want to do body shots, you want to activate the buff, and once you do that, well, then try to hit headshots. When you do headshots, which is only 30 headshots, you build up the crit damage now, the crit chance and crit damage buff, and now what you do is just land body shots, headshots, leg shot, doesn't matter, you do that. So this way, what happens is you can at least keep one buff active all the time. So one buff disappears, the other one stays, and when the other one is about to disappear, you get back the other one. So you can just keep that cycle. Or if you want, you can just keep both the buff active all the time. And that's how I play. And that's why I said in heroic content, Chameleon shines way better than the St. Elmo's. Now let's try with the chest piece of Striker, shall we? So we're going to just swap the Striker, like the Grupo chest piece, to a Striker chest piece here, really. That's that. And we're going to change the knee pads and put like a Grupo knee pads here. There we go. Yep. And right now, if I take a look at my stats, we have 50. Actually, you know what? I'm going to test the St. Elmo's first. Let's swap to that. Yep. There we go. So pretty much the same stats here, right? Basically the same stats. And obviously we have 4-piece Striker. Now this time with the chest piece, we have a Coyote there. And we have the Grupo knee pads. Let's build up the stacks real quick. It's going to take a little bit more time because we have more stacks right now. And that means more damage, right? All right. So we have the stacks now. Let's do some damage. So you can see we're doing crazy damage obviously with the St. Elmo's. We're doing 1 million, what was that? 1,036,000 on the body when there's armor, and 1.2 million, 53,000 when there is health bar. So that's a lot of damage there, right? 1,036,000 on armor, 1.2 million, 53,000 was it? 1 million, 2 million, yeah, 53,000, yes. So when there is health bar. Now let's just swap it to the Chameleon, right? Now, if I take a look at the stats, pretty much the same stats like before. All right, let's go. Now, without any buff on the Chameleon, with just Striker stacks on it, we're already doing 945,000, which is pretty good. Now, let's get the weapon damage buff. Now we have it. Okay. Now, on the body, when there's armor, we're doing 1,083,000. And when there's health bar, we're doing 1.3 million. 1.3 million, 10,000. That's already higher than the St. Elmo's. And we didn't even activate it. The crits. Let's do that. Now, when there's armor, we're doing oh my god. We're doing 1.2 million 77,000. When there's health, we're doing 1.5 million 45,000. That's a lot of damage for a solo player. I mean, obviously without any group buff. If you obviously get a group buff, that's going to be crazy. Now I'm losing my buff. I'm going to just get out of combat and come back so I can keep the buff. There we go. Refreshed it. You can see. So that's pretty good damage. And again, don't forget that we're doing this damage on a higher RPM. So technically our overall DPS is even higher than it looks like with the damage numbers, you know, because you can't read out the RPM damage there. So it's definitely smoking the St. Elmo's there. And that's why I told you, use the Chameleon on heroic content, because you're doing way more damage than St. Elmo's. And you're going to be shredding through. And you can keep the damage buff active all the time. To keep yourself like out of combat, you get the buff refreshed. Or just play it like I said, activate one buff, then activate the other buff a little bit later. And that way you can just keep cycling between these two, and at least one of them is going to be active all the time. even with the body, like the weapon damage buff, you're still doing more damage than St. Elmo's. So activate the body shots first, which I'm pretty sure most people would do because you're always shooting on the body. And it only takes 1.5 magazine to activate it because it's 75 shots. And not to mention, don't forget about the RPM because you're doing more damage with the RPM. So in heroic content, Chameleon really better weapon than the St. Elmo's, in my opinion. That's all I can say. But if you're going for higher difficulty content or staying in combat most of the time, St. Elmo's will definitely going to shine. And not to mention, it is like a plug-and-play weapon. You just get the buff at all times. You don't have to do anything. There's no condition on it. But the Chameleon also doesn't have any condition. All you have to do is just shoot the weapon. Where you're shooting, it's up to you. Like, all you have to do is just shoot, whether you're shooting on the body or on the head. You know, you have the buff. When you do have the buff, you have more damage than the St. Elmo's. So I'm not saying that use one weapon and ditch the other. I'm telling you to use both of them. And for new players, if you don't have St. Elmo's, you can be happy with the Chameleon by the time you get the St. Elmo's, you know? So if you're seeing St. Elmo's everywhere, don't get confused. If you have the Chameleon, use that. Chameleon is a really good weapon. So technically, whichever build you're using St. Elmo's to get that higher damage, you can actually slot in the Chameleon over there as well. And it'll do even more damage, you know, when the talent gets active. So don't ditch on the Chameleon, man. It's a really good weapon. And not to mention, it looks really good as the only weapon in the game that changes color. So it's really good. Give it a try. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I didn't want to make this video to post a war or something. No. I'm telling you that Chameleon is a great choice. You should use that. And it technically does higher damage than the St. Elmo's. So, you know, you decide. So that's pretty much it for the video. Hope you guys find it useful. If you did, leave a like and subscribe if you want. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Till then, peace.